All according to plan with the FIL World Lacrosse Championships. We've reached the semifinals, where we find Matt Diver, a shooting star for Australia, poised to meet Paul Rabel and a powerhouse Team USA that's taken Denver by storm. A tournament record 38 teams marched into play when the event began a week ago, providing a colorful mix of character and pageantry with the sights and sounds lacrosse fans have grown to love. These championships have provided the stage for a number of astounding individual performances and been the backdrop behind collective stories like Uganda, a team now universally embraced. We've seen the highest level of international lacrosse, both fast and ferocious. Only the best of the best remain with a chance to be champion of the world. Welcome to the 2014 FIL World Lacrosse Championships presented by Trusted Choice. Lax lovers gather round at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Today the semifinal showdowns begin. First up, the feisty Australians hit the turf in Denver to battle the highly impressive top seed from the United States. Australia earned victory with a nail-biting 1-goal decision over Israel yesterday that vaulted them into today's tilt, while the Iroquois were pushed hard but eventually outlasted Scotland to face Canada later. It is so nice to see you again. Along with Quinn Kesnick, I'm Joe Beninati. You will hear Paul Carcaterra chime in very soon. The Australians haven't had any luck against the United States in World Championship play, but how much grit do they have left in their tank?
U.S. is 14-0 all-time against the Aussies. They beat them by 9 goals in pool play. But the Sharks are a grizzled group. I mean, this is a team that showed great courage in the quarterfinals, down 4-1 against Israel. They rallied all week long. The weather's been punching in their face. And their head coach, Glenn Meredith, says there's 38 coaches here, none prouder than him.
They have been a very busy bunch. They've overcome stiff competition, weather delays, and all through it, Matt Diver and Callum Robinson lead the way.
Robinson, a defender out of Stevenson, 6'4", 248. They call him the Big Koala. He plays long pole, he plays close, and he will draw the Paul Rabel assignment. Matt Diver, what a great shooter. The righty in transition or off their invert offense is a dangerous cutter. I love it when he slings it three-quarter arms. He's been on target.
The U.S. men's national team's been perfect in the last week. It's been a real treat for lacrosse fans to watch Rob Pannell and Paul Rabel at their breathtaking best.
Rabel, the MVP of this event back in 2010. What a luxury for Team USA when your best player is also your hardest worker. He set a tone all week long. Meanwhile, Rob Pannell, Cornell University, NCAA leader in career points, 7 goals against the Iroquois, completely unstoppable.
Pannell has been playing the game up-tempo, a talking point upon which Paul Carcaterra will expand.
Well, gentlemen, we knew that Paul Rabel would deliver on this World Championship stage, but for the U.S. offense to take it to another level, Rob Pannell had to answer the bell, and he has. He's been unguardable from behind the cage, creating crazy space for teammates. He's a blend of quickness, strength, and toughness, which is allowing him to dominate the opposition, and his shooting has been flat out insane. Pannell, from a low-angle goal line extended area, is making goalies scratch their heads.
Pannell, sensational against Iroquois during the week. 7 tallies, throw in an assist as the United States dominated Team Iroquois, completing a perfect run through the blue division at 5-0. So they are the top seed, entertaining the number 4 seed in green. The Australians, who were 3rd best 4 years ago when this tournament was contested in Manchester, England. Craig Gurenlian and Chris Eck have been awesome on the draw, and Gurenlian wins another one to get the USA going, started in the red. Jesse Schwartzman is in the cage for the United States. Richie Meade pointing to his excellence in the wins over Canada and Iroquois. Backed up today once again by Drew Adams, who has a couple of victories in his own right under his belt. Kevin Buchanan has the ball 6-on-6 in the offensive third. Subs coming in off of Richie Meade's bench. We have seen the depth of talent from the United States roster throughout. In the cage for the Aussies, Warren Brown surprisingly gets the start after Tom Vickery was sensational last night. Rabel on the inside feed, and it's just stuffed wide by Buchanan.
Brown is extremely unorthodox. You'll see him chop his feet, come out on a ridiculously high arc, and so you can carry around him and shoot the ball into open pockets. He got yanked in the Israel game. I'm really surprised to see him start.
This one snapped high by 23-year-old Marcus Holman.
You know, gentlemen, that was a decision Coach Glenn Meredith didn't make until after warm-ups. Quint, you were on the field as well. He wanted to see how these guys reacted to the warm-up.
Mundor floats it inside. Brown got his cross on that one. A BB from Holman in tight. Team USA still with the ball.
A good example of how he comes out on the arc. Now, as a shooter, you just got to take an extra peek. Reminds me kind of, Joe, of an old-school hockey goalie from the 70s, like an Eddie Giacomin who'd come way off the line.
He will definitely step out and challenge. Lawson off the spin, nice feed inside. The dunk is off the post. It ricochets around and out. Buchanan thought that went in. It's a crease violation against the Americans. It's Team Australia ball. Warren Brown wears number 41. He's the oldest guy on this Australian team. The officials today: Lee Bryan, Ryan Nose, Kentaro Shimizu, and Barbara Zelene. Ball stays with the United States after what I thought was initially a call against them.
It may have been a push into the crease. Australia now playing their 7th consecutive game without a day's rest. You think about late games against the Iroquois. You look at the U.S. keys. Respect and focus is what Richie Meade told us earlier, and then defend the invert. And that comes straight from Dave Petromala, their defensive coordinator.
Lawson wheeling in. In the first meeting between these two, he had 4 goals. Rabel right to the cooker. He scores. Rabel gets United States on the board.
See how this Australian team comes out after a late-night game against Israel. It's basically been 3 consecutive late-night games because of rain delays. And U.S. controlling. Rabel finds himself all alone on the wing. And watch this stick fake, the dip and dunk at the end here.
Is there anything he can't do, gentlemen? We see him as a premier feeder right now in the game, dodges on everyone, and now making an attack-like move.
Paul, in this tournament, he's taken 6 shots against Australia. He scored 5 times.
Spoke to Paul yesterday. Mandatory double therapy and treatment day for Team USA. Massage, ice. Says his focus is a 3-to-1 fluid ratio. I said, what's that mean? He goes, you got to drink 3 times more out here at altitude than you do back east.
A mile high in Denver, Commerce City to be specific, Dick's Sporting Goods Park. As the United States circles it up, Kark, if the Aussies are to get it done, what do they need to do today to force the upset?
They need to defend the dodge, Joe B. These guys are so lethal on the perimeter, and their ability to break a defense down. They got to match stride for stride, great approach and hit play, and then slower tempo. Q, you mentioned 7 games in 7 days. They got to play the half-field game here.
20-minute quarters in the World Championships, running time, and the Australians have yet to have a 6-on-6 offensively. This one's buzzed by Seaball, stopped by Brown. Rebound squirts off the post. A lucky carom for the Aussies, and away they go with Luke Keesing the opposite direction. Keesing, the 22-year-old midfielder, lets one go. It's deflected. Schwartzman got a chunk of it. Looking for the ground ball at the top of the crease. Whistle stops play, and it's Team USA ball. On top by 1 thanks to Paul Rabel in the early going.
USA defense has been spectacular this week, led by Jesse Schwartzman, who is saving the ball at a 54% clip, but his goals against average 3.74. He is number 1 of the 38 nations in that category.
Marcus Holman on the go, watched by Callum Robinson. The United States, a 5-0 mark through Blue Division pool play. The first meeting with Australia went their favor 16-7.
Average margin of victory, 7 to 4.5. They've been completely dominant other than the opener against Canada, 10-7 win. Shots, Joe, 244 shots taken, only surrendered 88. That's a 3-to-1 ratio.
And really devastating in the first half. They've outscored opponents now in the first quarter, 24-3. Just shy of the 6-minute mark. This one's hammered wide of the goal. Rob Pennell calling his own number there. Points aplenty for him. On a speed dodge comes Crotty. Ball's loose and taken to safety by Brad Sheldon for the Australians. Good hustle, good recovery. The speedy Sebald and Fool both getting there in a hurry. It'll stay Australia ball.
Left side of your screen, we've seen excellent riding this week from Team USA. It's a loose ball push. Sharks set to go in the settled set. One thing you'll notice, extreme patience, perimeter ball movement, but very, very well-timed cuts from the high slot. 5 in green. Stiglish is a dangerous cutter inside.
Richie Meade and Dave Petramala, part of the coaching staff for the United States, were not pleased with the way Team USA defended one-on-one from behind the goal in the first meeting.
They were also not really happy with the focus, the concentration, and the penalties were an issue against the Aussies.
Well, that's the first thing Dave Petramala was grumbling about after that game. Way too many fouls. Way too many fouls, he said.
There's a little invert, and the Aussies will make it a pole and a shorty, so it's a big little. And so you have some decisions on whether to stay with your matchup, whether to double, or whether to switch.
Lawyerson and Pickett behind the cage. They love this little drag play. Well defended there, sniffed out by Kyle Harrison. Anson Carter from the top. Hyde and back behind the cage for Lawyerson, who had a 3-assist game against the Iroquois in the Blue Division play. The Aussies went through that at 2 and 3. Good stick check, loosens the ball up for Kyle Hartzell, very fleet of foot. He races back ahead, and the United States has numbers. Abbott inside, Mundorf off the fake, he scores! Brendan Mundorf.
Defensive destruction leads to a run out, yard sale in Commerce City.
Two-way midfielders reigning supreme for Team USA. Kyle Harrison, he was just a Tewaaraton winner at Johns Hopkins, known for his offensive play. And then Matt Abbott, who is better in transition than number 3 for the Red, giving it to Mundorf.
The 27-year-old Abbott gets his 4th assist of the tournament. His dad's been an official on lacrosse fields for over 30 years. Mr. Tom Abbott, proud of his boy and Team USA. They're off to a 2-0 advantage, just about 9 minutes deep. It's Thursday, day 8 of the FIL World Lacrosse Championships, presented by Trusted Choice, independent insurance agents. A tournament that has been plagued by rain and foul and severe weather. Crystal clear skies over Dick's Sporting Goods Park today.
Knock on wood, Joe, knock on wood. It's been tough for the fans, the players, the organizers.
Lawson's ready to go off of a screen from Holman. On the redodge, Robinson stays right there with him. Callum Robinson, who plays collegiately at Stevenson in the Baltimore, Maryland area. Buchanan forced away. Andrew Ham's been good, 21 in green. Left-handed defender, close defense in front of Warren Brown.
Got a matchup here.
Pennell working against Sam Bullock. Pennell inside, he scores! A dazzling move.
Not quite sure what this Australian defense is thinking. When you hear the 0 call from an offensive player, you know that they love the matchup. And watch everyone back away and give Pennell the corner and all sorts of space. There must be a double team. You cannot leave a short stick on an island against Rob Pennell.
Well, Q, the big question is, why does Pennell have a short stick? Number 3 in red and 9 in red, Paul Rabel, should be getting long pole attention every possession. But Pennell just showing you his quickness and why he's been dominating this World Championships.
Face-off win for Chris Eck. He barges right towards the cage. Pennell off the face dodge. He scores! Lightning in a bottle, back-to-back for Rob Pennell.
The Aussies have struggled at X. Chris Eck, it looked like the ref put the ball in his pocket and he just got a running start. What an amazing face-off for Eck, who just recently finished up his MBA at Duke. Accepted a job for Google in New York City. And this is the power of going forward with it. Pinch and pop, inside pipe.
Rob Pennell So smooth, so fluid. Paul, when I see him do that roll dodge that he did for goal number 3 for the United States, his turning radius is so tight. It was an easy way for him to clear past Sam Bullock.
You know, Joe, I'm so impressed in watching Pannell all summer long for the New York Lizards. There's an extra step in the way that he's attacking. His quickness is better. He's stronger around goal line extended, and we saw it in the open when we showed his highlights. The way that he's shooting with poor angles is really incredible.
Richie Meade in the middle of that huddle. Coach Tambroni, the offensive coordinator, as well, giving assignments. Team USA is out to a quick start here in semifinal play.
It's interesting when we talked to Coach Tambroni last week about Rob. He says he's still getting better every day, still got a lot to learn. And then I loved Pannell's comment. He said, we feel like caged animals. That was before the first count of the game.
Keep it fundamental, keep it simple, keep playing unselfishly, and keep the foot on the gas. Understood?
Dave Petramala says no let up. No let up in that huddle. ESPN News coverage of the FIL World Lacrosse Championships continues tonight, the second semifinal. 9:30 Eastern, it's Canada and Iroquois. Oh boy, here we go again. They face off in hopes of clinching a spot in the championship. The FIL World Lacrosse Championships presented by Trusted Choice. Thursday, 9:30 for the second game of that doubleheader. We are enjoying the front half of the semifinal bracket. Australia getting by Israel last night in a dramatic quarterfinal game. They rallied from a 4-1 deficit.
Take a look at Matt Abbott right now, the ultimate clear. But for the U.S. offense, Coach Jeff Tambroni wants the extra pass. He thinks he could get this defense moving on a carousel once the initial dodge is taken. Defensively, Coach Petramala, he wants to deny the Aussies the ball behind the cage, and that's going to kind of stymie all that movement. You know they're known for their cutters.
They got to win a face-off first.
Team USA brilliant in that regard in the first 5 games. Almost 80% effective at the face-off X. Inside on the cut there, good stick check at the last instant. That was Brad Sheldon spoiling the efforts of Marcus Holman. A sun-splashed day in Denver. Shadows from the grandstand here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park almost enveloping half the field. Team USA in the red. Couple of goals from Pannell, Rabel and Mundorf to boot. It's 4-0. Mundorf extending his cross, swinging it back. Pannell picked up by Ham. Pannell turns, stopped there by Brown. He couldn't track the rebound, but he gets help from Matt Fuss. The Aussies look to counterpunch. Ross Hamilton brings the ball ahead. Let's see if they can work for a good shot from number 18. Matt Diver has been their leading goal scorer, and he is by far, I do believe, their best outside shooter.
Looking to press out.
Team USA's defense exerting a lot of pressure there and forcing the Aussies back onto their half of the field.
Opponents are clearing less than 80% of the time.
21-year-old Graham, a year ago voted the best player in Australia. During this time of the year, the club play is going on in Australia. Guys usually play their games Tuesdays and Thursdays. A 16-hour time difference from where we are right now in Commerce City, Colorado, to where this team is based in green. Alex Brown will chase it down.
Stiglish, as I said earlier, a dangerous right-handed cutter.
Was excellent against the Iroquois. There he is opening up. He bangs that one off the post. He had Schwartzman beaten. Tucker Durkin rolling back through midfield for the Americans. Durkin taking it all the way. Mundorf will slow tempo. There's a flag down. United States soon to go extra man. Playing with patience here, methodically back behind the goal, Brendan Mundorf, who back in the summer of '06 played in the World Championships for Australia.
And he roomed with number 32 from Australia, John Takarua.
Man who from time to time in the first meeting was guarding him. This buzz bomb from the outside, Lawson makes it 5-0.
David Lawson over the last 14 months has absolutely blown up. He won a national title at Duke University in 2013. He was dominant down the stretch for the Blue Devils, and now he's showing you on the international stage why he's a bona fide stud midfielder, getting into the middle of the field, and then just a sweet motion. Feet never stop there.
Having a great summer for the Rochester Rattlers. Boston native.
Folks, this is a very similar way in which Australia started last night against Israel. Israel at the time was 5-0 coming into that matchup. They had been blowing people's doors off. They jumped out to a 4-1 lead. Australia looked listless, but they never quit. You got to beat them, in the words of Richie Meade, the head coach for the Americans. Schwartzman makes the stop. Hartzell goes the other way with Abbott.
Meade said, we admire them. We watch them practice at DU. They're out there almost every day. They take their fitness really strong. They're invested. Many of these players from Australia had to pay their own way to get here. They're disciplined, and they really understand their own team identity. And when we saw them in Vail, Joe, quickly you got a feel for this is a group that loves one another. They love their coaching staff, and they're all buying in.
That camaraderie shines through under the direction of Glenn Meredith, who says he's been watching lacrosse games for 44 years. He's never seen weather like this. Right now, it's a sun-splashed day, just perfect. And perfect for Seaball to make it 6-love.
Hewlett Long Island product, Tewaaraton winner in 09, and the Lowe Senior Class Award that year as well. When he's healthy, probably the fastest player in American lacrosse. He runs a sub 4.40. Former solo captain, playing a lot of roles this week. We've seen him play some defense and wings of faceoffs. And there's no question he can draw the double team, and you don't slide, Max gets to a good spot, turn and rake.
Came off a great year at Cornell back in 09 and was taken second overall by the Denver Outlaws in Major League Lacrosse. MLL play resumes this weekend.
Yeah, Max has had a foot injury and a hamstring injury in the last 2 or so years that he's fought through. Really wasn't sure last summer if he was going to be able to make tryouts. When I was with him out in Portland at the Nike event, he tore his hamstring, took a couple of weeks off late in last summer, and made it back to tryouts, and here he is.
Now, if I'm Australia, gentlemen, too, I'm scouting Max Seaball a little bit different than Paul Rabel. You got to slide and make him a feeder.
Buchanan rolls. Here's Rabel on the throw inside. Lawson skips, fires one wide of the cage. The Australians have had no answer for Dave Lawson. None. Lawson is now Team USA's third leading point producer and goal scorer. Pennell pacing the team in those regard. This is another Rabel rocket that goes high. 6-0 for the United States, 17 minutes into the contest. Mundorf picked up by Takarua, those good friends. Staring out at one another. John Takarua, 32 in the green, playing in his 4th World Championships. Team USA in no hurry in the red. Lawson will try on fuss for size, run right by him, and score! Lawson from the angle.
Brute strength here, gentlemen. David Lawson has a variety of dodges. You saw him cross the middle of the field and snipe one from the outside. Now he does a little bit of an invert type wing dodge. And Q, I love his strength, the way he dips the shoulder and stays upfield.
He expects to run by his man, and he's willing to pay the price. But right now, the Aussies settled. There's no sliding, and they're not using the body. You think about the U.S. has 7 goals, 1 in transition, 1 off a faceoff. Their 5 settled goals are all unassisted.
Violation here on the draw. One of the few mistakes perhaps Greg Grenlian has made in the last week in this tournament. He and Chris Eck have been a 1-2 uppercut for the opposition at the face-off X, and it has been almost no contest.
Downset whistle, though, Joe, this week's been difficult for these Fogos. The inconsistency internationally, the deliberate slow cadence, the lack of consistency. We've seen numerous, far too many violations on the draw.
Team USA has played 6 first quarters, 6 games. They've outscored their opponents now 30-3. Trying to beat Australia for the second time in succession and earn a berth in the final Saturday night, 9 Eastern on ESPNU. The reigning world champs, Team USA, has won this event 9 times. Canada, the other 2 times it was contested. Pennell working on the outside with Thule. And then Seaball keeps it in the cross of 24-year-old New Jersey native Garrett Thule, first name James. Got himself into a spot of bother in the blue division play when he ran over Gaku Iwano of Japan. Only had about an 80-pound difference.
More than that. I think it's more than that, Joe. That was scary, honestly. We were right there. We were fieldside when it happened.
Thule.
It was as violent as I've ever seen.
With his head up, it was vicious as he scoops this one over top. The final seconds drip off the clock in quarter number 1. Team USA right out of the dressing room and laying waste to Australia in a hurry. A 7-0 advantage. Dave Lawson with a pair. Rob Pennell with 2. The Stars and Stripes flying high over Commerce City. These are the 2014 FIL World Lacrosse Championships.
Championships is presented by Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents. Free to do what's right for you.
Lacrosse fans having a wonderful time here in Commerce City, Colorado, about 10 minutes from downtown Denver. Team USA is in a good mood, a 7-0 lead over Australia. Before we start the second quarter, let's send it down to Paul Carcaterra, standing by with U.S. Lacrosse Vice President Bill Schoonmaker.
With a happy Bill Schoonmaker, Joe. And Bill, you look at this World Championship event. How has this event continuing to change and evolve?
Well, I think it's interesting, Paul. The history, I think in so many ways the growth has been exponential. The growth that we see here in this country is mirrored in the rest of the world. I mean, just 4 years ago, there were 29 countries participating. Now we have 38 countries, and there are already 51 countries that are members of the Federation of International Lacrosse. So it's just exploding, outside the U.S. as much as it is here. And I think the exposure that we've been able to provide through a partnership with ESPN is helps accelerate that growth.
You know, you look at your place in U.S. Lacrosse. When you were hired 6 years ago, one of your main initiatives was Denver 2014. Why has Denver been a great fit for this event?
Well, back 6 years ago, we had to make the decision, do we want to host or not? So we decided we thought it was the right time for our organization and for the sport here in this country. We felt like as the governing body here in the U.S. that we could do it in a way that would make the sport proud and also fulfill objectives like exposing the sport to more people, not only in the U.S., but also worldwide. So it's been a huge endeavor, and our staff and all the volunteers here in Denver has been fantastic. And the reason why we came here was because we felt like the sport had grown enough nationally that it justified coming off the East Coast. Every other previous World Championship or Women's World Cup in lacrosse or NCAA Championship has all been on the East Coast, and we felt like it was time to kind of put our flag out here in Denver. Huge lacrosse community here, great professional and collegiate and youth structure, and that's really, it shows in terms of the support we've had over the last 5 years or so since we chose Denver among 10 other cities to host the event.
So what's next on the docket for U.S. Lacrosse?
Vacation? No. Well, we're going to kind of go back to what we're focused on, which is responsibly growing the sport, and that means this sport is kind of a double-edged sword. The sport is growing like crazy, but we have real challenges here that are related to a lack of consistency in youth rules and youth play, and getting coaches certified to coach and officials certified to officiate, so that you have a great playing experience for kids, and that's the most important thing for us.
Bill, thanks for your time. You and your organization should be very proud of yourselves. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paul. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate the efforts there, guys. Games have been well attended. Dick's Sporting Goods Park has as many as 20 fields surrounding this main stadium, and everywhere we go, whether it be a youth game or a Masters game or one of the games in the World Championships, you've seen hardy fans in love with the sport.
Got over 7,300 fans the other night for the Iroquois Team USA game.
Mortimer for Hyde. Australia trying to break the ice here against Jesse Schwartzman, and the Team USA D a 7-0 lead for the Americans, all fashioned in the opening quarter.
That voice you hear is Schwartzman barking defensive signals. He's very comfortable with these defensive packages, having played for Coach Petramala at Johns Hopkins.
It's funny, when Jesse's in there, I noticed that Dave Petramala barks less. When Drew Adams is in the goal, then Coach Petramala is the loudest voice you can hear. Downhill for Diver. Lets this one go wide on the short side. Matt Diver scored 3 times against the United States in the first meeting. Nigel Morton. He had the overtime winner on this stadium surface against Team Japan. It was the opening game of the tournament for the green and gold. That pass looking for Anson Carter goes awry. Diver wins the scoop battle against Abbott. Splits 2 defenders. But Morton's no hurry to go to the cage.
Australia has shown really slick and sharp stick work this week. And from up here, Paul, it appears as if they don't play with really deep pockets and big whips.
That's a good point, Q. And just the way that their offense is predicated. Quick ball movement, a lot of cutters. You need that stick to have the capability of releasing the ball really quickly.
It's semifinal Thursday at the World Championships. This drive from the alley. Diver cashes in.
Sensational shooter, and he's got all the tricks up his sleeve, whether it's an outside rip from 14 yards, a mid-range shot. Usually prefers his right, but he goes left-handed 3/4 arm and pegs that far post.
Q, you mentioned a big-time righty dodger. A lot of lacrosse players, when they're predominantly right-handers, love to sweep lefty. It's something about it. I know as a midfielder growing up, I always felt comfortable dodging on the run left-handed. But the placement, as we see Diver actually heading off to the locker room, so I'll have to update you on his health.
Remember, Paul, he missed a game earlier in division play with a strained glute muscle. He returned for last night's battle against Israel. That may be acting up. Diver leaving the field, along with an athletic trainer for the Aussies. I've seen Australia play at least 4 times. That may have been the first time I've seen him score lefty.
Yeah. Injuries are a huge storyline this week. The grind of playing, whether it's 5 games in 5 days, or now Aussies are 7 in 7 days. Team USA had their own injury hiccups early in this tournament. You're probably not going to see Dan Burns or Michael Evans today.
Rabel off the split, fires and scores. Paul Rabel keeps on shooting straight for the United States.
'28-year-old, 6'3", 220 pounds, out of DeMatha near D.C. Loved the structured tryouts this season. Richie Meade says he is completely bought into a team player. What's been most impressive to me, his play between the lines this week. I've never seen him play so hard in my life on ground balls, on rides, and his ability and willingness to defer. His play has just made him become the unquestioned leader of this group.
Eck with another clean face-off win. Pannell was stick-checked on the outside by the 40-year-old defender there, Keith Nyberg.
Nice D.
The United States with an 8-1 lead. The first of 2 semifinals this Thursday. Canada and Iroquois coming your way. 9:30 Eastern Time on ESPNU from right here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Championship bracket play. United States the top seed, Australia the number 4 seed. Seaball picked up on the outside by Ben Newman on a throwback. This delivery is snagged by Warren Brown.
Stuck in his grill. That'll be Australia ball. As we watch this game, Joe, this is a big day for this event. Scotland has beaten Japan in overtime, and the Scots will play for 5th place tomorrow. That's their highest finish of all time. Israel has beaten England, so it'll be the Scots and Israel for 5th place.
Folks, ESPNU brings you coverage of Nike Elite Youth Basketball at Peach Jam. Sunday, it's a semifinal doubleheader. Tune in to see which teams win and advance to the championship game. Nike, EYBL at Peach Jam, part of ESPNU's Summer of Next. Sunday, 9 and 10:30 Eastern on ESPNU. That's 9 and 10:30 in the morning on ESPNU and also live on Watch ESPN. These two teams were both in the blue division. There were 6 squads in that entry, a total of 38 nations represented throughout 9 groups. But back to division play, Team USA again raised its upper hand.
A 16-7 margin. The offense looked sharp. I thought the U.S. was a little sloppy on D at times, guarding the invert, and they fouled too often. Drew Adams played significant time in that ball game. And you see the Aussies going to that old school bounce shot, something we noticed when we scouted them in Vail. Because of so many grass and dirt fields down under, these guys really have that old school high hop bouncer.
So Team USA was able to validate the win over Canada, and then they roared home against Japan, England, and Iroquois. A perfect 5-0 mark earned them the day off yesterday, much needed.
Double therapy sessions. Had a Kangaroo Court was in session. Paul Rabel is their summoner, and I'm sure they were handing out fines. I think Kark's sneakers were on the agenda. I don't think he received a fine, though, Paul.
You're fining Mr. Carcaterra for his footwear. Watch out for payback before too long. As we cross the 7-minute mark in the second quarter, two teams have traded tallies in this frame. Diver for Team Australia, Rabel for the United States.
They had a team and family dinner. So many of the families now are in town. Meanwhile, Australia and Canada played nearly to midnight last night.
That they did.
John Takarou said it was an anomaly. You know, that wasn't the true Australian team. It was a 12-4 margin. That's the only game that he told me earlier that they weren't really in love with their effort and the way they represented their country.
7-goal advantage for Team USA playing defense now. Richie Meade and Dave Petramala both saying we could be even better on the defensive end. Abbott there with the short stick defense. Bring it this way for Will Pickett, who has been able to create from below the goal line. Marked on the outside by Kyle Hartzell. 28-year-old from the Baltimore, Maryland area. Played at Division III lacrosse powerhouse Salisbury. They fake the flip to the Aussies. Newman spins back into pressure. Good catch by Pickett. The lone goal for the Australians from Matt Diver. And then Diver, after he struck, marched off to the dressing room in need of repair.
One thing you notice about this Team USA D, they've been very strong at the point of attack with excellent approaches and breakdown. They sit down and they're forcing guys to their weak hands.
Pickett inside, quick stick score. That's Anson Carter making it 8-2.
When the ball spins, the Aussies have serious success on the offensive end, and Anson Carter, the recipient of team offense. You see the movement? The boys in yellow right there, a little two-man game, and I love the way that pick inside and the cross crease cut right there just opens it up. Great off-ball movement.
Poor communication inside. The head was on a swivel, but two defenders not working together. A well-timed cut. That's really the signature of this Sharks offense.
It is 8-2 for the United States. We're enjoying championship bracket play, but all around Dick's Sporting Goods Park, play continues in the consolation rounds as we start to itemize 5th place, 6th place, 7th place, and so on. And there have been some very entertaining games going on today, including 2 that have gone to OT.
Scots behind Jimmy McBride beat Japan 10-9 in overtime. Israel beat England in overtime. So Scots and Israel for 5th place tomorrow. Japan and England for 7th place.
Wow. Japan and England both out of the blue division, both upset today.
I love that. I mean, we're seeing teams from the middle of the pack emerge now this year. 9th place is Germany and Ireland, and 11th will be Sweden and New Zealand.
I mean, Israel was a fingernail away from tying that game last night. Maybe better said, a brilliant save by Tom Vickery away from tying it.
And I thought Scotland was right in the deal also against the Iroquois. I just thought they stayed in their zone too long, and their clearing game let them down big time. They had a chance for the upset, Joe.
Crotty's speed is too much. Ned Crotty makes it 9-2. When Crotty has gone to the accelerator, nobody has been able to keep up.
27-year-old from Del Barton in New Jersey, great feet. Turns the corner with his hockey background. Number 5 of 6 kids. Credits Coach Stanowski and Coach Ron Caputo with his success at Duke.
The BioBlast on Ned Crotty, brought to you by Sector Spider ETFs. Ned winning it all in 2010, both collegiately and internationally, at Duke and with Team USA.
Big believer in wall ball is Crotty, and you see his skills. Sometimes it's hard to figure out if he's a righty or a lefty, but he spends hours and hours of his time honing his craft against the wall. You can get a lot of repetitions in a half hour.
Q, are you superstitious, and were you when you played at Johns Hopkins?
Maybe. About what?
Ned Crotty has worn the same shirt underneath his gear since freshman year in high school.
That number one, it's a heck of a shirt if it's made it through that many launderings.
It's going to be pretty ratty by now.
Number 2, it shows that he needs to hit the weight room. He hasn't grown any.
No, it makes him look like the Incredible Hulk when he walks in. He starts posing next to Gurenlian, maybe. Thule, big man in his own right. Throwback for Crotty. Fast feet. Fast and shifty. Thule gets inside, bouncer goes wide of Warren Brown, who's been under siege in the first 30-plus minutes.
I didn't have superstitions, show. I think it's dangerous for athletes, but you do get into rhythms, and when something's working, you stay with it, or something's broken, you get rid of it.
Thule in concert with Crotty. Outside for Pinnell, who had a couple of goals in the opening quarter. Crotty just off of his cross. 7:25 with which to work in the opening half. The first of 2 semifinals today. The next one, Canada and Iroquois, a rematch of a brilliant game that wasn't decided until the last 19 seconds of regulation by Canada's Curtis Dixon. Pinnell off the sweep, fires one high. Paul, we're watching 4 of the finest in the semifinals. How about some of the nations who've entered the picture, the new nations who've entered the picture this time around? How have they made an impression upon you?
Well, I think it's all been about Uganda for me, and just everything that nation has suffered through and endured, and having them come to the World Championships, their first opportunity, getting the 2 victories and playing China tomorrow, that's been a high note for me. But Q, you and I walked around the venue and seen some of these nations, Argentina, and we mentioned the growth of Scotland. I think it's also about, guys, the gap now is being closed with some of these nations like a Scotland, who wouldn't be able to compete against a team like the Iroquois 8 years ago. So it's just wonderful to see. I think the American influx and the opportunities that some of these nations are part of with the education process and what have you from American universities and Americans that are going over and helping grow the game has been fantastic.
Warren Brown springs across the midline for Australia. Gives it to the ultra-speedy Thomas Graham, who surprisingly doesn't have a point in this tournament. Anson Carter does. He's the last man on the board for Australia. Morton over the top, rings the crossbar. Nigel Morton with a BB that had Schwartzman beat. Morton comes up on the reload. Looks for some sanctuary. Doesn't get anything from Jesse Bernhardt. This is Alex Brown, who had a big hand in Australia's win over Israel in the quarterfinals.
Great escape by Morton that the fans here appreciated. I'm not sure anyone's brought a more ruckus group of fans than these Aussies.
Graham to the alley. Schwartzman was right on the angle there. Good stick check. This ball rolls out of bounds. Lawson says it should belong to the United States, and the officials agree. Folks, ESPN News coverage of the FIL World Lacrosse Championships. They continue tonight. Second semifinal, 9:30 Eastern. Canada, Iroquois. That's appointment TV. In hopes of clinching a spot in the championship, the FIL World Championships are presented by Trusted Choice. Tonight at 9 and also live on Watch ESPN. Team Canada, after dropping the opener a week ago on this very stadium floor against the United States, has reeled off 4 wins in succession.
Shooting 42%, but I'm most impressed with their defense. GM Dave Huntley saying we are playing very, very good defense.
Listen to you. You've come around on their defense.
Well, they'll get the test from Lyle Thompson and Miles today. Their shooting has been ridiculous. They're only taking 31 shots a game, Joe, and averaging 14 goals.
Buchanan slides by Lawyerson. Mundorf keeps it hot. Crotty fires and scores. Ned Crotty pushes Team USA into double figures. Plenty of red, white, and blue in the stands, and they're loving it on the field.
Lacrosse IQ is part of this Team USA DNA. And the challenge for an offensive player is to understand, as a shooter, is this in my range? Is this out of my range? And Crotty has that sense right there that that's well within his range with a well-timed bouncer.
And into the cage steps Tom Vickery, 31-year-old netminder who made 10 stops in a game on this surface against Japan in the opener that went to sudden victory overtime. Vickery was sensational in the last 5 minutes last night, helping the Aussies to beat Israel.
And going back to Crotty, range is dependent on a lot of things. Which hand, obviously, your strong hand, your weak hand. Are your feet set? Are you on the run? But I'd guess that Ned Crotty has probably practiced that shot 1,000 times in his life. Feet set, far side post, hip high bouncer.
So many repetitions paying off.
The versatility of Ned Crotty. He played midfield at Duke University for John Danowski his first 2 years. So you can put Ned Crotty behind the cage, which we've seen a bunch from today. Put him up top. He's an elite passer and just the ultimate playmaker.
Sebald shoulders his way in and then goes 5-hole on Vickery. It's 11-2.
Downhill alley dodge. Speed to create separation. You see Sebald lean in. Bounces off the defender. Contact is a good thing offensively. Drop your shoulder. Separate. You see the Miles Harrison there in the upper left enjoying this game with his wife out here in Denver.
Good to see Kyle back in business. He was injured against the Australians first time around as Gurenlian pulls the trigger and fires high. 90 seconds with which to work in the opening half. Team USA roared out to a 7-0 lead. They have the last 3 goals in succession. Just Diver and Carter on the board for the Aussies, who are being humbled in this, their 15th ever game against the United States. They are 0 for the first 14, as you see the shooting numbers, bottom of the screen.
These two teams have met 3 times in the World Championship finals. And I think Australia's best finish 1994 when they beat Canada in the semis, and that Canadian team had Gary and Paul Gate, John Tavares, Tom Maricek. But Gordon Purdy and the Sharks pull off one of the great upsets in World Championship history.
Without question. Last night they gave up 4 goals in the first 14 minutes and then only surrendered 4 in the last 66. The guy in the goal right now had a large hand in that. He was special. Tom Vickery, a man who has overcome some hurdles just in this tournament alone. A personal matter back home. Coaches were worried about how much it would distract him. He has said his mind is clear, and last night he performed beautifully. He's on in place of Warren Brown, who surrendered the first 10 today, with just 13 seconds to go in the half. That's a tough catch for Buchanan. He made it somehow. Pennell isolates. over the top. Mundorf wide of the cage.
Mundorf had a one more. He had a one more to Crotty.
Running time here in the World Championships, 40 minutes complete. Team USA strides off the sideline, comfortably in front of Australia by the margin of 11-2. The United States with a 7-goal salvo to start things in the opening quarter as we send you to Paul Carcaterra and Team USA bench boss Richie Meade.
Coach, the first time you played the Australians, they played you tight in that first half. Today, 11-2. What's been the biggest difference?
Well, I thought, Clark, we came out ready to play. Guys are very excited. I think we're playing better defensively. We let one guy get to the goal, shot at left hand. Another time we fell asleep inside. But I think we're playing pretty well offensively. Obviously, there's shots that we haven't canned. So I think overall playing pretty well. Face-offs are a strength again.
What do you tell this group at halftime in terms of just keeping that edge? They look like a focused bunch.
You just got to stay focused. We're playing for a world championship. Doesn't really matter what the score is. It matters we're playing against ourselves right now.
Thanks, Coach.
Just got to stay focused.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thanks.
Richie has been emphasizing to the guys they realize just how valuable this experience is, and it's coming to a close. We are halfway through at semifinal number 1 with Team USA comfortably on the lead 11-2. The guys on the field are loving it. The little ones in the stands too on ESPNU. Welcome back to the FIL World Lacrosse Championships 2014 presented by Trusted Choice. Well, good old Hoppy isn't so happy right now. Australia falling behind the United States after 40 minutes, 11-2 at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Joe Beninati and Quint Kesnick with you. And Quint, we've been giving Team USA very high grades, but for today, I'm curious which facet of their game is better, offense or defense?
I think the offense is slightly better given the fact that the defense made 2 little isolated errors, an inside communication problem, head wasn't on a swivel, you had an open cutter. The other goal, Diver gets down the left-hand alley. I guarantee in the scouting report, he's a righty, he's a righty, he's a righty. He goes left, we're not going to support and double team, and he made a shot. I mean, the left-handed, he nails the corner. So I think the offense gets an A+, the defense an A-.
All through the week, the United States have been very good on the run in transition from defense to offense. Here's another example.
Hartzell, the head coach at Plano West in Texas, unselfishly dishes to Abbott, and poor transition defense. It's Mundorf who cashes in. How about Chris Eck? It was almost like the ball was in his stick and the referee blew the whistle and said go. He and Greg Berenlian have been awesome. Anson Carter on a cut. That's the off-ball communication issue that I'm referring to. Crotty's got a pair. Pinnell's got a pair. Lawson's got a pair. They have shared the wealth.
Team USA very pleased with a 9-goal advantage after one half's work as we send you and share time with Paul Carcaterra.
Well, Joe, some teams fuel up with Gatorade and water. The Australians, slushies. Coach Glenn Meredith gave me one to refuel myself as well, but he said from a face-off standpoint, they've gotten absolutely smashed. 6 different guys they've tried at the X against Berenlian and Eck, and offensively, they need to handle the initial pressure. He wants them to run their cutter-based offense, and if they withstand that initial contact from the defense from Team USA, he thinks he could get some offense.
See how that transpires over the next 39 minutes and 45 seconds, the time remaining in regulation in this semifinal number 1. Iroquois in Canada to follow, 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU, a rematch of a terrific Blue Division game, very hard fought, penalty filled. There were lots of harsh words exchanged the first time around. What should we expect tonight?
I think both teams will play with more discipline and better sportsmanship. The edge has to go to Canada with fresh legs. We're seeing it today. The Iroquois will be playing their 7th game in 7 days, and they were quite visually tired late in that game against Scotland. It was a gutty win because Scotland gave them everything they could handle, but the day off could be a huge benefit for Team Canada.
The other big benefit, Paul, is getting Lyle Thompson back from the ESPYs.
Without question, Joe. And by giving him the keys to the offense, I thought that first Canada game, he was running midfield the first 2 quarters. And late in the 3rd quarter, they put him at attack. That offense comes alive. And when he's behind the cage, something happens every time. Just his versatility. He's one of the best passers I've ever seen. But his balance and his ability to be so slick at goal line extended is incredible.
Long drive from the outside. Another sizzler from Rabel, who has the hat trick.
Lefty laser from about 14, top center. Makes it look easy. Nobody works harder than Paul Rabel, whether it's in the weight room, out on the field, shooting. Does a lot of interval runs. He's putting it all together this week.
Impeccable mechanics, Quint. When you look at the release point and when you really study Paul Rabel, from that same spot, I've seen him spray that ball. Top corners, lower corners, bounce shots, high risers. It's really amazing.
I'll tell you one thing, though, he does against the righty goalie. It's usually going offside when he shoots it left-handed. He loves to work the offside high corner and the offside low corner. Typically in Major League Lacrosse, Joe, over the last decade, we've seen teams shade him. They force him to his right hand.
They have done that. Different plans with different variations of success. United States getting an extra man goal from Paul Rabel. Oh, by the way, they only have 4 in this tournament. Rabel has them all. Pennell working in tandem with Buchanan inside for an open look. Holman has the slam dunk.
On the huddle, gentlemen, late in that 2nd quarter, Jeff Tambroni, offensive coordinator, said, let's stick to our principles, get everyone involved, share the ball, and this is absolutely gorgeous offense. The 2-man game throws Australia off. Then they slide to Kevin Buchanan, who's been a fantastic shooter, and Holman just money in the bank.
First half, they scored 8 unassisted goals. Australia was slow to support, but that was a terrific passing goal against the defense that was put on the carousel.
Chris Eck, who won 7 of 10 draws the first time these 2 teams tangled in division play, has been close to perfect again today. We've seen the Aussies, no matter who they have faced, struggle at the face-off X. They've tried a bunch of different guys there. Ben Newman's been the midfielder for the most part. They've put Brad Sheldon there. They put Callum Robinson there just to cause mayhem off of draws. They just have no answer for either Eck or Gorenlian today. Thule will swing it for Pennell. 2 first-quarter goals for number 32, adding to his team-leading totals. Ned Crotty has a pair just the same, weaving in against Newman. Crotty draws a double, snaps that pass. It's picked by Bullock, who had a brilliant goal last night in Australia's win over Israel. Newman roaring ahead. Newman beats the trail check and then has that one go wide of the goal. He sprints off. Head coach Glenn Meredith pushing the buttons for Team Australia. Very good-natured man who we caught up with in Vail after his team arrived in Colorado from Los Angeles. They began their lengthy trip scrimmaging a bunch of guys who had played some in the LXM bracket.
They lost in that Vail tournament to the eventual winners, 16-15, a collegiate team that featured guys like Sergio Perkovic, Ryan Brown, Adam Selva between the pipes, Tanner Scales on defense. It was a who's who of collegiate players.
Perkovic and Brown, some gunslingers there. Scorching the nets in beautiful Vail. Schwartzman times that hit perfectly, and he crunched Stephen Mortimer. Jesse getting into the act as Abbott goes the other way on the lead for Jesse Bernhardt. Bernhardt closing. His pass goes awry. He was looking for Mundorf. Bernhardt had a goal and an assist against Australia when Team USA beat the green and gold 16-7.
Coming in hot was Bernhardt, but mentally you've got to have some options right there. You're reading the point man, and he saw something down below where he liked Mundorf with the through pass, and it kind of was there, and then it wasn't.
Jesse's dad has to be ramping up the workload.
Spoke to him today. He's actually here. Flew up from Houston, where he's an assistant on the Houston Texans staff.
Sloppy passing for Australia. The ball off the cross of Vickery, and you could see that Team Australia is dragging. Sure, they are playing perhaps the best team in the world right now, but Australia just doesn't have its best lacrosse legs today.
Yeah, I wish they would restructure the dates of this tournament. Maybe give a team like Australia a day off and play the semifinal on Friday and the final on Saturday, because the Aussies need every competitive advantage they can get, and you'll see it later with the Iroquois. It's almost unfair to give the 1 and 2 seeds that extra bye. Meanwhile, the other team is going through the meat grinder.
And doubly so this week with the severe weather in the area. Lawson hammers one past Vickery. It's 14-2. On the world stage, a coming out party for Dave Lawson, and he is making quite the impression.
24-year-old who works for the Audax Group in Boston, a private equity firm. There's only one of a handful of guys on this Team USA who don't make their living somehow in lacrosse, whether it's as a coach of a college team, a high school team, or a club team. Many of these guys have their own clubs, or as a marketer, like a guy like Paul Rabel or Kyle Harrison that works for a equipment company.
Flying the colors proudly here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. The first of 2 semifinals. The United States well on its way to earning a berth in the championship game Saturday. You'll see that 9 Eastern on ESPNU. Should they hold this lead, improve upon it, and seal victory, they will meet the winner of Iroquois, Canada, a game that's coming your way tonight, 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU from this very same turf. The Major League Soccer home of the Colorado Rapids. Mundorf, for such a long time, a vital cog in the Denver Outlaw offensive attack, now playing in Major League Lacrosse with the Chesapeake Bay Hawks. MLL play resumes this weekend. Seaball of New York Lizard fame sends it wide.
Poor Bayhawks have to compete this weekend without Michael Evans on defense, Matt Abbott, Dan Burns, Brendan Mundorf. Forgetting one. They have 5 guys here.
You mentioned Evans. Coaches were telling us that he tweaked his back a little bit during the division play.
He's getting a day off today.
He's not on the field. Mitch Belisle has a long stick. Mr. Versatility on the back end. Lee Zink has done a nice job, as always, quieting his check.
John Galloway, alternate goalie, has flown home to compete in Major League Lacrosse. Most amazing thing I saw today, Joe, Steele Stanwyck, the last guy out of the locker room, and an alternate for this team, former Tualatin winner, carrying the balls. He was carrying Steele Stanwyck as your ball boy, and willing.
No ego.
What does that tell you about this team? It was the most amazing buy-in I've ever seen in my life.
No ego. Steele performing with a very good young Ohio Machine team in Major League Lacrosse.
And staying here all weekend to be with this team.
Well, Q, that will put him in a position to be a captain for Team USA one time. I think Steele Stanwyck, best lacrosse ahead of him, 23, 24 years old. A lot of these guys mature at 28, 29. See Kevin Lavelle, 32 years old. So Stanwyck learning to become an international lacrosse player or a leader. I expect guys like him and Jordan Wolf and some young, fine midfielders. Maybe Miles Jones will be in the mix next time around. So there's a change of guard every 4 years, and always looking for leaders.
When your team's best player is its hardest worker.
You're speaking of Paul Rabel as the Aussies get on the board with Nigel Morton trimming in.
This is an absolutely sweet move, and when you could stretch a defense with a big-time outside gun like Nigel Morton, their biggest threat from the perimeter, it opens up your dodging, because teams are going to press out at you, get on your hands, break down, and play you as a dodger last. A shooter first opens it up.
That's not going to go over well in the film session, that defensive effort.
Nigel Morton with 3 against Japan in an overtime win. Scored against Canada. Picked up a couple of penalties against the U.S. last time they faced one another. He's on the board. It's 14-3. Marcus Holman will swing it. Sebald is next in line. Crotty turns for Thule. Picked up on the perimeter by Ross Hamilton. This Australia team has been outscored in every quarter of this tournament except the third. In the third today, they're trailing 3-1. Sebald will march. Mundorf sharing the ball with Crotty. Iroquois and Canada to follow. They'll face the winner of this one, with the United States appearing to be well on its way to earning a chance to defend the title. Thule against Hamilton, trades him off to Ham. 6-on-6 for Team USA. Took the competitive luster of this game away with a 7-0 first quarter. There's a flag down as Sebald was denied by Vickery, who puts up a protest to the officials.
Off-ball interference. Australia in their man-to-man with an adjacent slide. And after a first half where they surrendered all sorts of unassisted goals, they've been quicker to support. This is one area, Joe, that Team USA needs to ramp things up. Coming into today, they're only 3 of 20 with the extra man.
They got one today. They got one from number 99. He has all 4 of their extra man goals in this tournament. He's at the top looking for Holman. Rotate it. Rob Pennell was denied. Pennell, the man who brought the flag to the surface here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park today.
And he gets to wear the cowboy hat for a full day. It's an honor voted on by the players for an effort play.
How about 7 goals against Iroquois? That should get you more than a cowboy hat. As the captain, Kevin Lavelle, is on the board.
Casually slings that into the back of the net, the 32-year-old out of UMass. Captain out of the Albany Academy. Very talented inside, predominantly a right-handed player whose comfort level in the slot has him recognized as the best interior finisher in the United States.
You asked for better extra man play. Answered. Kevin Lavelle, Paul Rabel, 2 for 2 for the United States on extra man against the Aussies. It's 15-3. Whistle. Official awarding the ball to Greg Gurenlian and Team USA. Gurenlian in this tournament better than 86% on the draw. He had a perfect game against England. Went 12 for 12.
Decision to keep 2 Fogos has been a shrewd and sharp one by this staff. You think about that position and the way in America how kids start at an early age with an eye of playing college lacrosse, getting a potential scholarship or a half scholarship. There's so much focus and specialization. That doesn't exist with these other nations where, you know, lacrosse is a club sport, whether you're playing at Eltham Lacrosse Club, Brighton Lacrosse Club in Australia, or in England for Cheadle.
Mundorf tacking on. Goal number 16.
This inside game for Team USA is amping up big time. We saw Kevin Lavelle stick that prior goal, and Brendan Mundorf, who for about 6 to 8 years was one of the most lethal dodging attackmen in the world. He actually played for this Australian national team in 2006. Team USA the last 2 go-arounds, and he shows you why he still can finish at an elite level.
When they're on, and they've been on in the last week, Team USA's inside game downright surgical. A 16-3 leader. Australia not putting up much of a fuss. The Aussies entering play today overall with a 3-3 mark, the number 4 seed out of the blue division. Earned a berth in the semifinals by outlasting Israel in a white knuckler last night. They have had very precious little success against Team USA in their history. They're over 14, and that trend is going to continue today. ESPN News coverage of the FIL World Lacrosse Championships continuing tonight. Second semifinal, 9:30 Eastern. It's Canada and Iroquois. The FIL World Lacrosse Championships are presented by Trusted Choice. 9:30 Eastern for that second semi on ESPNU. Also live on Watch ESPN. And we will be coast to coast north of the border for that one. The blood feud between Canada and Iroquois. Nice look. Lavelle all alone. A beautiful pass from Pinnell.
The ability to see through the defense. It's kind of like pulling into a crowded parking lot. You're driving and there's one or two spots that are open. You kind of got to see through the cars to find that open parking spot. And Pinnell does that. He sees through the defense to find his teammate on the far post.
Team USA rolling over Australia. When we return, folks, on ESPNU, stay put. A little bit more. We'll expand on one of the key storylines of this tournament, Team Uganda, after this.
World Lacrosse Championships is presented by Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents. Free to do what's right for you.
Team USA has added 6 third-quarter goals to their total. They are bludgeoning Australia 17-3. Team Uganda, one of 9 different nations making their first ever trip to the world stage. The Ugandans have made such an impact with lacrosse fans here in the Denver area. David Onen, dazzling. Now, these lacrosse skills are raw. It's not about superior lacrosse skills with Team Uganda. It's overcoming what they have to in their homeland. The atrocities, the poverty, and the way that sport can lead and lend to a sanctuary. After their loss to France, they saluted the crowd. Just super stuff. Kevin Dugan's the founder of Fields of Growth. Patrick Oriana, one of their midfielders.
Thank you, Joe. As you mentioned, Kevin Dugan, founder and director of Fields of Growth, the program that brought lacrosse to Uganda, and Patrick, starting midfielder and captain for this squad. I'll start with you, Kevin. And you know, there's been a lot of work on your behalf, but the idea of bringing lacrosse here to the World Games from a Uganda standpoint, how did that become a reality?
Yeah, well, I like to think that we need Africa more than Africa needs us. We need Uganda more than Uganda needs us. This is more a gift to the international lacrosse community than it is to the people of Uganda and these athletes, because the spirit of life that these young men live with, it's infecting everyone here at the World Games. You know, the way they wake up every day and are just grateful for the gift of another day is something that's been a really healthy thing for the lacrosse community to see. So we walk really humbly, and it's an honor to have the ability to bring these guys over. It's not a gift to them. This is a gift to us because we're learning so much from them and the spirit of life and the love that they have. And it's been a beautiful thing to see infect all the fans here at the World Championships.
Truly amazing. And Patrick, for you, what's this experience been like for you and your teammates?
It has been so exciting. It's probably the best thing that could have ever happened to each of us in the team.
What's something you can kind of bring back to Uganda and think about lacrosse-wise?
I don't know. We just want to grow the game. The 18 guys are ready to grow the game, and I don't know if probably there's any kind of help, it will be welcome.
Who's the player out here that you admire, Patrick?
Paul Rebel.
Why is that?
His work ethic, he works out a lot. I follow him on Facebook and Twitter. He's always heading to the gym. He's doing tire flips, things like that.
Well, Patrick, walking around here, it seems like you're a bigger star than Paul Rabel. Keep up the incredible work.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Paul.
Paul, around here, folks were flipping tires just to see Team Uganda, or better said, maybe to get a Uganda lacrosse t-shirt. Team Uganda wound up winning a couple of games, earned a 33rd place spot here in the World Championships. And Kevin Dugan was kind enough to spend a good 20 minutes with us on the phone earlier this week. And he mentioned not only what's going on in Uganda, but specifically the impact that may be felt down the road in Jamaica. He is super high on what they're doing there.
Jamaica's been recognized since 2013. They have a great structure for high school and youth sports in Jamaica, and they have awesome track athletes, as we know, and soccer. Many who end up playing collegiately in the United States, and so the athletic pool is there, the interest is there, the geography really suits, and I would love to see a college program in the U.S. adopt Jamaica as kind of the way Hopkins adopted Japan years ago. As you look at Rob Pennell, who during his year off at Cornell spent time in Uganda working with the Fields of Growth in that Cornell project.
Kevin was talking about names like Pennell, Chad Wiedmeyer, Hannah Nielsen, Tom Schreiber.
Worked with the team all week.
All of those
Tanner
guys
Scales,
being involved.
Collegiate at Virginia right now. Josie George, women's lacrosse player at Johns Hopkins.
Lacrosse moms, dads, players being so selfless and so kind with their charitable endeavors. It's not just about building a lacrosse program. It's about helping to build a school down there. And an improbable journey from the equator, 8,500 miles from the equator to Denver, and Team Uganda served itself extremely well. One of the darlings of the tournament. Team USA, oh, by the way, Kevin Lavelle about a hat trick in, I'd say 3 minutes. Since coming off the bench, Crease Attackman helping to feast on Australia. Tom Vickery and Warren Brown, the goaltenders for the Aussies today, and they have had little or no chance with the United States buzzing, humming on offense. Just about top of the hour time, along with Quint Kestic and Paul Carcaterra. I'm Joe Beninati as we shout out thanks to all the men and women in our crew. Dick's Sporting Goods Park, the 2014 FIL World Lacrosse Championships are presented by Trusted Choice. Team USA to a 7-0 advantage right off the hop. They are rolling over Australia. They will have a chance to defend their world title on Saturday right here. They will square off with the winner of Iroquois in Canada, a game and semifinal you can see at 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU. Pass gets away from Thule. It's a turnover to the Aussies. Running time in World Championship quarters, 20 minutes of it. And we are just about set to embark upon the final 20 in this semi-final number 1. The Aussies, 1 goal in this third quarter. Nigel Morton was on the board. Got the green and gold faithful a little bit excited, but it's been all USA. From the opening draw, despite the fist bumps, the Americans with high fives themselves. Fourth quarter to play from Commerce City.
Having passion for what you do every single day. Teamwork is also having hate for the guy next to you during drills, to the point where you push yourselves beyond any other expectation that you would have had, but both knowing that the level of play that you're having is going to contribute to your success on game day. Teamwork is being able to delegate your role as a player within the team, but also recognize that every single position has an impact on the direction of where you're going.
This is the 2014 FIL World Lacrosse Championships presented by Trusted Choice Independent Insurance Agents. Team USA through 3 quarters, running away and hiding from the Aussies. It's 18-3 as we get set to start quarter number 4. Let's hear from Paul Carcaterra.
You know, Joe, big story for Team USA is just dominating possessions and beating teams silly at the face-off X. And Kevin Cassis, head coach at Lehigh, has done an incredible job with Greg Grenley and Chris Eck. And these guys are masterful in terms of their technique and their craft. During that break between the third and fourth quarter, they were dialed into every little move the Australians were making. The Aussies have thrown 6 face-off guys at Team USA, but 0 answers.
Kevin Cassis, who was the captain of the 2010 World Championship entry for the United States, victorious in Manchester, England. That's where we'll be in 4 years' time. That city hosting the games for its 4th time. Kevin Buchanan on the back pedal as we dip a toe into this 4th quarter. For the United States, 7 in the first, 4 in the second, 7 more in the third. ESPNU's coverage of the FIL World Lacrosse Championships will conclude on Saturday as Lawson has the ball up top. At 9 Eastern, it's the championship game. Which team rises above and wins it all? The FIL World Lacrosse Championships, 9 Eastern on ESPNU, Saturday. You can watch also on Live Watch, ESPN. Lawson, bullseye.
Aussies pack it into a zone. U.S. take their time with patient ball movement. Rabel cuts the crease. Lawson steps down.
Let's get to know Lawson with this BioBlast, brought to you by Sector Spider ETFs. Dave out of Westford, Massachusetts.
Boston native.
Part of the Duke National Championship team in 2013.
Yeah, and his tournament, the 5-goal effort up in Indianapolis that we covered in the quarterfinals was one of the better games I can remember a midfielder playing in the last 5 years.
Team USA clicking on all cylinders. Holman with a scorcher, and that's 20 again for the United States.
All-time leading point scorer in North Carolina history. Marcus Holman just caught up with his family prior to the game. They just flew in from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, just in time to see Marcus plant his feet and let it fly. One of the best in the business with time and room.
Marcus Holman, who grew up 3 miles from Homewood Field. His father, an All-American netminder at Johns Hopkins back in the day.
Brian, current assistant at North Carolina, as they welcome Dave Metzbauer to Joe Bresci's staff as the Tar Heels look to get back to the big dance.
Let's keep going on that topic. Coaches changing places, familiar names on the move.
Yeah, the Dartmouth job still remains open, but we have a lot of coordinators spots are going to be swapping hands. Michigan made a nice hire. Connor Ford from Drexel will be their offensive coordinator.
The Bronco.
Matt Kerwick, now the full-time head coach at Cornell after leading the Big Red this season. But we're kind of a quiet year for the Carousel.
The most beautiful weather day of the tournament here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Grandstand shadows almost fully enveloping the field now.
The college news, Joe, and there's going to be a handful of transfers now later on in the summer, and it's going to be a domino effect. Some big names, and I think fans are going to be surprised. The rumors are out there. I'm guessing there'll be 3, 4, 5 or more, and that's kind of a result of early recruiting, I think, Paul, and it's going to be very interesting to see how that changes the balance of power.
Without question, Q, is Max Siebold, who wasn't an early recruit back for Jeff Tambroni. He was his prized recruit at Cornell out of Hewlett in Long Island, just showing you some absolute range from deep down in territory in terms of busting that zone. Siebold certainly could do it, but Q, to kind of tag that whole philosophy with transfers, when you're an early recruit and you verbal as a 9th or 10th grader, you don't know what the future is going to be. You don't know those late bloomers who end up being studs for that team. So I think you're going to see more and more of the transfers in Division I lacrosse.
You also don't know your teammates. You don't know what you want to study. There could be a coaching change involved in that time period. This whole early recruiting thing where programs now have their rising sophomore class filled and their rising freshman class almost filled to the brim. They're evaluating 8th graders. I mean, let's talk about winning intangibles. They're non-existent in an 8th grader. And it just boggles my mind that these coaches continue to dip younger and younger and younger.
Yeah, you know, Q, it's obviously a change from when we played. We didn't know until going into our senior year. You know, I have a different approach to it. Do I agree with the philosophy? No. Recruiting that early, I'd like to see coaches identify kids and track them for a couple years, but I also don't think there's a competitive advantage, and lacrosse as a whole, I think, is benefiting, and those mid-tier teams now can compete with the giants in lacrosse because they get these guys who are late bloomers who end up being better in a lot of places.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you, Paul. You know, you think about what motivated you in high school when you went from 135 pounds to 170 and how you got good against the wall in the backyard. I'm not sure that exists for these 8th grade commits. I think it stifles a lot of their hunger.
No, for me, Q and Joe, it was like Q said, I was 135 pounds as a sophomore. I definitely wouldn't have been able to go to Syracuse based on my vitals at that point, but gained 30 pounds, and by my senior year, I was 185 pounds, and I was a man.
Boys, thanks for the conversation. I was able to scarf down a sandwich while you guys were chatting. It's 21-3 for the United States. We've been well-versed in these one-sided games throughout this tournament from time to time. And this one, the first of 2 semifinals, is all Team USA. For the 3rd time in the tournament, the United States has racked up 20 markers. Goal number 20 from Marcus Holman, 21 for Max Siebold. with 13.5 minutes separating the United States from a berth in the final and the Aussies from a date in the third-place game. They'll tangle on Saturday with the loser of this evening's semifinal, Canada and Iroquois. And guys, two very young squads, Iroquois and Canada, from an experience standpoint, from just simply an age standpoint, very young rosters. Buchanan back behind the cage, circling it up with Sebald and then Lavelle, who has a second-half hat trick brewing.
Team USA showing some pretty good sportsmanship now, just milking the clock. There's no shot clock at international. There's no timer on. The referees can hit them with a keep it in call, and even the officials are letting this go on for a lot longer than they typically would. The U.S. will conserve their energy, be respectful by not putting up 30 goals or 35 goals on the Aussies.
The Australians haven't taken a shot, Quint, since they were around the 10-minute mark of the third quarter. It's been deeply one-sided in favor of the red, white, and blue. Things are shaping up for them nicely to get another day off, and then go full blast in the championship game, 9 Eastern Time Saturday. We'll have it for you live on ESPNU. Buchanan marching in, taken there, working to the outside with Callum Mortimer, and the goals keep coming. Brendan Mundorf receiving the congratulations, 22 for Team USA.
Left-hander out of UMBC in Mount St. Joe in Baltimore. Avid bow hunter.
He lined that one up nicely.
That was just a textbook overhand change of levels.
Didn't have a point in the first meeting against the Aussies, with whom he played in the World Championships in 2006.
Loves to hunt, duck hunting, and often when I see him around in town in Baltimore, he's wearing his camouflage gear.
He was super in 2010, Quint, the championship game that you and I called. Team USA reigning supreme in Manchester. Number 2 for the United States was all world.
And how about the Denver championship that he did not play in? Excuse me, the Denver Outlaw losing the championship that he did not play in when he was hurt. Friday walkthrough in Boston. Was that 2 or 3 years ago?
It's amazing how time flies.
And the Outlaws still without an MLL championship.
So good have they been during the regular season, which resumes in Major League Lacrosse this weekend.
They were undefeated that year.
Yes.
And he twists his ankle in a walkthrough practice.
There was a time there where they had 25 straight regular season victories, did the Outlaws.
And I don't see him winning it this year. I do not see the Denver Outlaws winning the championship this year. Not even close.
I think the Rattlers, I think they're poised. Got some two-way burner midfielders. John Rannigan's a horse. David Lawson, obviously, and then Jordan Wolf taking the MLL by storm.
Mundorf does not pull the trigger here. We're halfway through the fourth quarter. Thule has the defense hung up. That's Callum Robinson. Speaking of Major League Lacrosse defenders, Michael Simon from time to time comes back to Stevenson University to work with Callum.
Callum's got one more year, and I think he projects as a Major League Lacrosse draft somewhere in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. I think he's going to have to lose some weight. He's carrying 248 pounds, which in my estimation is a little much.
Q, what do you think about Major League Lacrosse playing this weekend during the championships?
I'm not a fan of it. When you look at an 8-team league, you lose 23 members of Team USA and about 10 from Canada. So that's a third of the league is not playing. But I think it just sends the wrong message to the fans. You know, playing directly opposite the World Championship, I'm just not in favor of. It would be like the NHL playing opposite the Olympics. Do they do that, Joe?
Negative. That would be a no.
Have to agree with you, Q. I don't agree with your wardrobe, but I agree with that philosophy.
Ooh, a barb, a pointed barb.
1-1. We're tied up.
Not close to being tied on the scoreboard where it matters most for Team USA if you're just tuning in. Guys in the Stars and Stripes jumped out to a 7-0 advantage, and there was going to be no looking back after that. Lavelle turns it 6-on-6. The extra man's been 2 for 2. There are 38 nations competing in this World Championship, a record-setting total. Great games going on the satellite fields to this stadium. A couple that required overtime today as we start to slide and slot teams into 4th, 5th, 6th place, etc., all the way down to 38th.
Congratulations to Scotland and Israel, winners today. They'll battle for 5th place tomorrow. That'll be the highest finish for the Scots ever. Nearly beat the Iroquois team last night. Israel in their first year of competition, burst onto the scene, and it'll be interesting to see how they structure the next World Championships. You know, does the blue division remain the same? Will there be a second kind of super division?
Israel was hoping to crash through into the blue division. In the quarterfinals last night, played a terrific game against Australia. The Aussies rallied to win. You know, I think for Australia, in the conversation that I had with their head coach, Glenn Meredith, go back to the game they played against the Iroquois. They were tied against the Iroquois very late into the second half. The rain, the severe weather came, and after that, the Iroquois went to another level that Australia could not match. But at that time, they felt they had the Iroquois tired and beat.
8-8 in the rain. They had all the momentum. Lightning delay for 2 hours. Paul and I called that game. The Iroquois went back into the locker room, and I'll never forget it when they came out of the locker room and the focus that they had. 2 by 2 in lines, chanting. They dominated that ball game.
They'll be primed, the Iroquois Nationals will, to square off with Canada in the second semifinal tonight, a game you'll see 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU. The winner of that one will face the United States, 6.5 minutes away from claiming victory again over Australia. It'll be 15 for 15 for the United States, and should this lead hold, this would be the largest margin of victory ever for the U.S. against the Aussies. Go back to 2002 in Perth when the United States beat Australia by 15. Crotty's in no hurry. There's no stall warning in World Championship play. No timer on. I should say there is a stall warning, but no timer on or shot clock in World Championship play. The officials have been kind to the United States, not have them advance. There's a whistle. The Aussies will get the ball. They have not taken a shot at the U.S. net, which is now guarded by Drew Adams, since the 10-minute mark in the third quarter. Drew Adams relieving Jesse Schwartzman. Jesse can rest that bruised thumb. He was drilled in a game against Team Japan. Yu Yamaguchi, who can really bring it with his long stick, hit Schwartzman and knocked him out of the game. Hanson Carter's back behind the cage. Worked off by Kyle Harrison. Harrison missed a game after sustaining an injury against the Aussies first time around in Blue Division play. 5 minutes to go. Iroquois in Canada starting to loosen up. They will take the Dick's Sporting Goods Park turf very soon. Game you can see 9:30 Eastern on ESPNU. The inside pass for Carter, one of 3 different goal scorers for the Australians. Good news to see Matt Diver back in business. Diver, who scored first and then left the turf injured. 18 in green, leading this team in goals in the tournament. The takeaway check there, made in concert by Harrison and Bernhardt, and they're on the fly. Assistant coach Dave Petromala says of Kyle Harrison, the greater the challenge, the greater the effort. Richie Meade says Kyle looks much better now than he did last summer, giving the United States excellent depth at that short stick defensive midfield spot. It's a position you know you're going to need in any battle against the Iroquois or Canada. And in a day where Dan Burns has been rested, Burns dealing with a couple of different ailments, most notably a groin muscle problem. He'll get another day of rest tomorrow. The United States will be in action Saturday night here when it will be time to crown a world champion. Lawson. The Aussies will be glad to see no more of 31 in red. 2 games against them, 7 goals.
Joe, earlier we were given a false report. It was England beating Israel today, 10-9 in 2 overtimes. Nick Watson played his collegiate ball at Stony Brook and Adelphi with the winner in overtime. So the Scots will play England in the 5th place game.
So double overtime in this tournament means sudden victory.
And Japan plays Israel for 7th place.
Games that you can follow on ESPN3.
Word on the street, gentlemen. Big Ben McAllister stood on his head in that contest. England over Israel.
Did he really in his 4th World Championships?
Yes, he did. Stood on his head.
I watched him almost score a goal against Japan. He did score against the Iroquois in 2006. And McAllister was great against the Iroquois in this tournament for about 5 minutes.
Beginning of the game, remember he had 10 stops at the end of the 1st quarter.
And then, ba-boom, the Iroquois came a-running. Haudenosaunee will be a tough out for Team Canada tonight. Team Canada at 4-1, the number 2 seed. The Iroquois, the number 3 seed. A semifinal duel that will come your way on ESPNU. The United States is 2 minutes away from another berth in a World Championship final.
Q looking ahead to that game. Canada and the Iroquois. You think they put Brody Merrill on Lyle Thompson?
I don't know. You know, they have some options. You could put a smaller guy with quicker feet like a Jason Noble or a Dylan Roy on him. I would think Brody would start on him, though, Paul.
Brendan Mundorf cooling his jets. Team USA with 7 in the first, 4 in the second, 7 more in the third for 18, 4 more here in the fourth. Lawson, Holman, Sebald, and Mundorf just window dressing for what will be a 6th win in succession. Sebald inverted. The Aussies will get a day of rest, so very much needed, before tangling in the 3rd place game. They will square off with whomever loses, Iroquois and Canada tonight. This is an Australian side that's placed 3rd in Manchester, that's come in 2nd in this tournament 4 times, but the last 20 years ago, humbled by Team USA today. A weary bunch in green and gold was no match for a fresh Team USA that is clicking. Another 20-plus goal performance. Strong when they had to be on the defensive end. They stayed out of the penalty box. That was one of their mission statements. Team USA, a 9-time world champion, goes for the perfect 10 on Saturday night. An emphatic 22-3 decision over the Aussies.
Here we go, here we go. One more, boys, one more.
Since they set foot in the state of Colorado, they have been so good, and David Lawson has made a wonderful first impression at the World Championship level.
Dodging to the dirt, he gets to the middle, willing to pay the price. Got those strong shoulders. Everything left-handed today. Range on display.
Our trusted choice, player of the game. A half a dozen points for David Lawson. Another 4-goal performance against Australia. Q, Clark and I still have some work to do. We'll get you back to Dick's Sporting Goods Park in just a few moments. Stars and Stripes all over the Aussies. 22-3, your final. We're coming back in a moment. Team USA, a band of brothers on the lacrosse field. here in Commerce City, Colorado, about 10 minutes away from downtown Denver. The United States all over Australia, 22-3. This squad, which has won 7 of the last 8 world titles, has a shot at another one. Saturday night, 9 Eastern on ESPNU. They await the winner of the second semifinal, what should be a thrilling showdown, Iroquois and Canada. 9:30 Eastern coming up on ESPNU. Let's send you to the field. Paul Carcaterra with Paul Rabel.
Thanks, Joe. Paul Rabel, 3 goals, 2 assists. The Aussies played you tight in that first game, 15-7. This time around, 22-3, no contest. What was the mindset going into this game with you and your teammates?
We just want to keep improving. And they're an incredibly tough team, and they showed it throughout the whole tournament, especially in our first game. So we wanted to get out off the right foot. I thought our face-offs have been incredible, just giving us so many opportunities.
You know, you look at this grind for you guys, 6 games in 8 days. A lot of you professional players only accustomed to playing 1 game a week. How have you been able to maintain balance?
I mean, incredible coaching staff. We got great physios and the whole treatment staff and everything. Rehab all day. Been taking ice baths after ice baths. I mean, the altitude's insane, so we've been drinking 3 to 1 and eating 3 to 1.
2010, you're the MVP of the World Championships. Right now, in my opinion, you'll duplicate that again. Your game continues to evolve. How do you elevate yourself day in and day out to this level?
You just strive for gold. I mean, for me, this team is just so unbelievable. It's the best time of my life being here with these guys. And however we play, as long as we're winning and playing well and improving as the coaches want us to, that's what I'm here for. And it's just been an unbelievable game.
What's the plan for you and your mates this next game, Iroquois, Canada?
We haven't even been told yet. It's just one step at a time. So I imagine, I know they have ice baths set up back in the locker room, so we'll hit that, and then I'm sure we'll watch the game as a team, whether it's here or back in our bunker.
Well, refuel. We look forward to seeing you Saturday. Congratulations.
Thanks, Paulie.
Paul Squared, thanks very much. Kyle Harrison, along with Drew Adams, making friends in the stands here at Dick's Sporting Goods Park.
Talk about blinders, Joe. When an athlete comes off the field and has no idea what the post-game itinerary is, that is a single-minded focus.
Australians saying thanks to their fans as we are setting the table now for Iroquois and Canada. 2 youthful squads, relatively speaking, with respect to what we've seen in the past. These 2 entries played a very good division game in the blue group. It wasn't won until the final 20 seconds, and it should be quite the showdown tonight.
Both great shooting teams. Canada shoots 42%. The Canadians have played really stout defense this week, but they got tired against the Iroquois late in that ball game. It'll be interesting to see who covers Lyle Thompson. Meanwhile, the Iroquois, I think the challenge for them is this will be their 7th game in 7 days. Face-offs, Jeff Snyder could be a big difference maker in this game for a competition that features some of the best playmakers in lacrosse, not only on this field, but on the planet. Miles Thompson's had a great tournament. Cote d'Ivoire winner, 14 assists. Meanwhile, Lyle missed last night's game. He was at the ESPYs. He's got 12 goals, 4 assists, and some magical moments in this tournament. For the Iroquois to win this game, though, I think guys like Roger Weiss, Craig Point, Jerome Thompson, some of their complementary role players must support the Thompsons.
Don't forget Jerome and Jeremy, but do definitely flash back to what the Thompson brothers, Lyle and Miles, did at Albany.
Yeah, dominant on the collegiate stage, and they proved themselves now against world-class defenders who are more experienced and older. Always a thrill. Their unorthodox style makes it fun to watch, and this place will fill up as the Thompsons are set to roll out onto the field.
Team USA basking in the glow of a 22-3 win over Australia. Q, what's next? What's up for them in the next 24 hours to get set for Saturday?
Paul talked about it. It's all about staying hungry and focused and attacking your body in terms of getting ice, massages, and good diet.
Defender there, Michael Evans, with that little one, calls this the proudest moment of his career. He and his mates will have a chance to go for the title on Saturday. 9:30 Eastern, semifinal number 2, Iroquois and Canada. For Q, for Kark, for all the men and women in our crew, Joe Beninati, thanks for your time. This has been a presentation of ESPN. The United States flying high all over Australia, 22-3.